I honestly thought this year's E3 was pretty lackluster for horror overall. Sure, we got to see some more information about Dying Light 2 and that one Devolver Digital horror game that looked pretty damn cool. Oh, and this icon revealed a new game as well.
Thank you!
But overall, it just kinda came and went. There was one moment though during Microsoft's E3 press conference that made me lose my shit. The Blair Witch game looks absolutely fantastic, judging by the 2 minutes of gameplay I saw and the initial reveal trailer. It is a first-person survival horror game developed by Bloober Team, the people responsible for Laser Fear 1 and 2, as well as Observer. These people know their horror, and when I found out they were going to be creating a game in the Blair Witch universe, well, as you know, I lost my shit. The game is set in 1996, 2 years after the events of the original film. Players control an ex-cop named Ellis who searches the Black Hills forest around the town Burkittsville, formerly known as Blair, for a missing kid named Peter Shannon. Quick note to self, never search for missing kids, just let them disappear. Otherwise, you'll enter a forest known for killing people. Looking for them is only asking for trouble, and little Timmy was never going to be an upstanding member of society anyway. I don't know about you, but the woods really creep me the fuck out. I remember this one time as a kid, after seeing the original Blair Witch, funnily enough, I was walking with my mum in a wooded area in my hometown. I had wandered off and was by myself, and I swear to God, I heard a cracking sound that sounded exactly the same as the one in the original movie. I've never felt fear like that in my entire life. Well, that was until I got my first paycheck after graduating university. Oh cool, I'll just be in debt forever, that's mad. The woods just have an eerie and isolating feel to them. I always feel like I'm being watched, and since they are so isolated and removed from society, if something bad were to happen to me, I know there will be no one to help me, which makes it a great setting for a horror game.
It's spooky.
Ellis is equipped with a flashlight and a 90s camcorder. Now I know what you're thinking, a horror game with a camcorder sounds pretty cliche at this point, especially since this game takes place 2 years after one of the most famous found footage films of all time, but Bloober Team showed off exactly how this camcorder will be used, and I've got to say, the iPhone X hasn't got shit on this old video camera. Ellis will find tapes around the area that will show events that previously occurred. In the trailer shown during an interview, Ellis watches a video of a scared man running through a cabin and opening a door inside.
That's the guy from the campsite.
But when Ellis arrives at that cabin, that door is locked. So instead of looking for a key or some object to open the door, he replays the footage on his camera to the point where the man opens the door, and voila! The door in front of him opens up. It is like an overly convoluted knock-knock joke, but the punchline is murder. But that moment alone made me realize this camera is more than just a way to make the game feel like a found footage film. It actually has some pretty interesting gameplay and puzzle elements behind it that I can only imagine will get crazier and scarier as the game goes on. We didn't see any combat in the game, but Bloober Team said it does exist. But since this is Blair Witch, they said you wouldn't just be straight up attacking dudes, as they believe that style of combat wouldn't fit the universe. And I've got to agree. The combat in the game is apparently unconventional, whatever that means, but I'm glad there will be some way for the player to defend themselves, because I'm really getting tired of just having to run away in horror games. I feel more threatened by an enemy I have to confront than an enemy I have to run away from. But one extremely cool part of the gameplay we got to see is Bullet the dog. This game has a dog and you can pet it, so it's already Game of the Year in my mind. Bullet seems to be your companion throughout your scary adventure into the Black Hills forest, and he is such a good boy! From what I saw in the trailer, you can command him to find items or objects within the game world. And since you can pat him, I am hoping Bloober Team implements a mechanic similar to that found in the PS2 horror game, Haunting Grounds. In that game, you had a dog ally who would also search for items and in some cases fight off enemies. If the dog did a good job, which let's be honest, of course he did, you could reward him. But if he did a bad job, which would never happen, you could scold him. Doing so would alter the AI of the dog. Positive feedback would mean the dog would continue to do a specific action when you praised it, while scolding it would stop it from doing a specific action. So if the dog found a useful item and you praised it, it would be more inclined to look for items. But if it just wandered around doing nothing and you scolded it, the AI would learn that this action was bad and he would do it less. I think a mechanic like that in Blair Witch would not only be interesting on the whole, but would greatly increase the emotional relationship the player had with Bullet. But if I ever see you scold this good boy, I will come to your house and fuck. They said the game wouldn't be based on the plot from any of the films, but they will use the lore of the Blair Witch to create something new and in their vision. This is absolutely fine by me. I think the lore of the Blair Witch is the most interesting part of that whole franchise. If you don't know too much about it because you've only seen the movies and they don't really dive into it too much, I recommend checking out the Curse of the Blair Witch documentary. It was released at the same time as the movie and was directed by the same people. It goes in hard on the lore and is a really great companion piece to the original film. I really hope Bloober Team takes some of the background story found in Curse of the Blair Witch to really flesh out their game. They already mentioned Rustin Parr in the trailer, whose backstory is really dived into in the doco, so I have major faith that they know what they are doing when it comes to the wider Blair Witch mythos. The only bad thing about Blair Witch is the developers did not confirm whether it was coming to PlayStation 4. You see, I traded in my Xbox One as it was basically an expensive paperweight and my PC struggles to run Windows 10. I really hope Blair Witch comes to PS4 because I need this game in my life. Overall, I am super excited for this upcoming Blair Witch game. The developer has a great track record in creating interesting and unique horror games. The mechanic involving the camcorder, the combat, and bullet are refreshing and again, very interesting. The fact this game is a sequel to the original film, but is telling its own story, but is also using elements of the extended mythos of the Blair Witch is very damn cool. I have to say, I haven't been this excited for a new horror game in a long time, and I hope it lives up to my extremely high expectations. The only horror games I was previously this excited for were Dead Space 3 and Aliens Colonial Marines, and those games definitely didn't let me down.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal.